We believe that we've got a role to play in educating you as the customer, making sure that we bring this to you so that you know the options and continue to become really a better buyer in our industry. We feel like that's really important is to make sure that we do everything we can. Like last month, we did a call on all the different screen print methods. And we felt like that was really important because that's something that definitely folks outside the industry don't really understand. And even folks inside the industry don't. And so to that end, today, we've got Jake Kitchell here with yourboxdesign.com. Feel free to pull up yourboxdesign.com if you'd like and pop around in there for options. But what we're talking about today is the idea of custom packaging. And I think it's definitely been a growing part of kits and packages. They've always been a thing, but I think they've become much more of a thing over the last 3 to 5 years. And Jake and his company have got a lot of options to help with that. So first, we're going to talk about why custom packaging, the types of custom packaging that they offer. Jake's going to talk about some use cases, some specific examples of how the packaging has been used. And then at the end, we'll have kind of an offer for those that are here and those that watch after the fact. Jake, tell us really quickly about yourself and let's get rolling.
Yeah, thanks, Landon. I appreciate that. This is a really unique way to do these meetings. So I'm really excited to get in front of your folks and just kind of outline, some of the ways that packaging is being utilized that we're seeing, as a supplier. I've been with Box Up since I got out of college, actually, and finished my master's. So it going on 8 years now, actually 8.5. And it's just been really fun for me, helping the business grow and those sorts of things. A few just really quick things that kind of make your box design different are that, we do 23 standard sizes. Okay. That's a really key part of our process. Everything we print is totally CMYK digital. So you can get as creative as you want. And you'll see that in a lot of the artwork that I'll share today. You can get as creative as you want with the design, and it doesn't affect the pricing at all. The only time the price changes is if you choose to print inside and outside of the box. And then those two things, digital print and stock sizes, are kind of our key differentiators in that they allow us to have minimums that start at 12 and we print in increments of a dozen at a time. So those are kind of our key selling points, right? Low MOQ, really creative products, and then stock sizes. So just a quick introduction on who Your Box Design is, and then we can get into some of these other things as Landon guides us through the slides today.
Yeah, I appreciate you setting that foundation because I know a lot of times people, that's a lot of things they're wondering right out of the gate is things like what's the minimum quantities, and just to bolt onto that because they're probably wondering sometimes lead times. I think lead times are a couple of weeks generally.
Yep, 10 days currently, and then we have expedited options at 4 and 7 days as well. So very quick lead time, which is an effect of us having those stock sizes, right? We can do these all really, really quickly.
Let's go ahead and talk kind of like working down the funnel. Why custom packaging?
Yeah, so we feel like our product is a way to make that first impression unforgettable, right? There's a lot of these promo campaigns, and I actually had a conversation with someone not so long ago where we were talking about how many branded tumblers you have in your cabinet at home in your kitchen right now, right? And for me, it's probably somewhere between 10 and 15, as crazy as that might sound, right? And of those 10 to 15, I think I could remember maybe 3 where I remember who gave it to me, what the occasion was, how it made me feel in that moment. And so not everyone does gifting in a way that comes in a creative package like ours, right? And so really making people feel like this is unique, this is memorable, this company or these people put a lot of thought and effort into making me feel special or making this gifting experience, one that I remember, right? So a big reason to use our product is that, that memorable first impression and being unforgettable, right? Secondly, extending your brand beyond just the product itself, right? Getting that initial brand recognition for these campaigns that you're working on all the time where, as soon as somebody sees that project, they know exactly where it came from. There's a lot to be said for that. And so that additional branding beyond, like I said, the tumblers, the hats, the apparel, all those sorts of things is a relatively inexpensive real estate to get that additional brand recognition, right?
What I hear you saying really is just impact. I mean, to me, it's if you want to have, impact, it provides a great opportunity for that. We always tell people and we have these conversations with customers frequently about they want to use a custom package, but I think they will always tend to underestimate the amount of additional cost in the project, that can be attributed to a custom box because sometimes the context is, a box from Uline or something like that. And it's never going to be comparable to that. So I think that the upshot of it is that the big reason why custom packaging, especially these days, you're just trying to find ways to stand out and have impact. And this is certainly a way to do that. How do you address the folks that will say, well, that's great, but after the fact, you just throw it away?
That is something that comes up often. Actually, something that comes up probably more often than that is how many people are like, I like this so much that I kept it. It's almost like the iPhone box example, right? And I think I have 3 iPhone boxes in a drawer at my house. I'm never going to do anything, but it's a nice box, right? And so, for one, I think you'd be surprised at how many people do actually keep the box, right? And then secondly, it's all about the experience at that point, right? And like I said toward the beginning, it's about that first impression and making this whole thing feel like, wow, not everybody does it like this, right? I like to say that with promo, there's almost an ulterior motive, so to speak, right? In that you want someone to feel thanked or appreciated or recognized or welcomed, whatever it is, you want that emotional response. And it's funny how something as simple as the packaging that it arrives in can dramatically elevate that response that people give, right? That emotional connection to the campaign, and then even the perceived value of the project, right? I use this example all the time. So my wife is actually a nurse. She works nights, and for Nurse Appreciation Week, she got to the nurses stand, and there was a branded tumbler sitting at the nurses station. There were probably 6 or 7 for all of them, and they came in the white box, that the supplier provided. Not that there's anything wrong with that, right? But it was kind of like she walked in, it was like, thanks for everything you do. Here's a tumbler, right? Now get back to work. And so in a field where they already feel a little underappreciated, right? And it almost had the opposite effect of what the hospital wanted her to feel, right? And
Yeah,
that
it
she feels,
probably felt like a box check a little bit, just
yeah.
sort of like, yeah.
And so for her, it was like they didn't put any thought or care into making me feel special. They checked the box and moved on, right? And so the hospital probably spent $20 on this tumbler, and it totally fell flat on what they were hoping to accomplish. And people tend to think about what they want to give away, but not necessarily how, right? And the how matters, and that's
Yeah.
where the affordable nature of our product and being able to deliver these products in a really creative way, that's where you're getting your value, right?
Yeah, so I think the upshot of it is why custom packaging is about impact. I think it's also about just the subconscious. There is just a subconscious understanding. Somebody sends you something in custom packaging, and you just intuitively understand they just took a lot more time and care with it.
So we have 6 types of boxes to choose from. So you'll see at the top of the screen here that we call these display mailers, and they're a front tuck ear lock mailer, really good for kitting opportunities, right? This 12 by 10 by 4 size that you see.
We've used that box and we've used that size for a lot of kits. And by the way, these all come flat, so they're very easy to assemble.
And so those display mailers really good for kitting opportunities, especially where several items might be going into the box and those sorts of things. They have a really fun unveiling experience. We see a lot of like unboxing videos with our boxes on social media and those sorts of things. So those display mailers are by far the most popular style. And then the 12 by 10 by 4, the most popular size that we produce. And obviously, with us having 10 options in that style, right, that there's a reason for that. The square mailers are more similar to a pizza box style almost, although they hardly ever get used for pizza. If you have lower profile items, these are only 2 1/4 deep, but quarter zips, apparel, those sorts of things look really good in the square mailers. The shipper boxes in the middle here are our second most popular box style, primarily because they are the biggest we offer in terms of overall length, width, and height. So those shippers are a good option if you need more depth than the 4-inch depth of these display mailers. The gift mailers that you see here are better suited for individual items. So primarily drinkware is what we designed these for. So the 4 by 4 by 8 size holds 20-ounce Yeti really well. And then this 4 1/4 by 4 1/4 by 12 and a half. We actually designed it for like a wine bottle, but there are additional use cases for bigger drinkware. The carry handled or the gabled style box are better suited for those in-person events where maybe you're doing a box lunch or you're doing a giveaway in person, right? Not shipping those. And then the end open mailers, they have a flap here on either end of the box where it folds down and you have to slide the items inside. So it's more similar to like a FedEx type of mailer, but it's the longest we have at 17 and 5/8 inches. So
So everything except the shipper are generally made out of like same material, have the same feel, right? And the shipper was a little heavier.
yeah, so the display mailers are made from an E-flute corrugated. I don't, It depends on how deep into the weeds you want to get here. But yeah, the shippers are B flute, so it's a little bit thicker, and then the display mailers are an E flute, so a little thinner, but still able to be shipped as is.
So aside from the carry handle, the gable box, obviously, every box you see here can be shipped. So you could choose to put it in to a shipper if you wanted to fully protect it, because we all know that items that go through FedEx or UPS can be handled with care at times and other times not. But the point is everything here except the gable box can in fact be shipped as is. I would say the shipper, the best way to think of that is like your standard corrugated brown craft box. That's very similar to the shipper, whereas like all these others still able to be shipped. But
Correct. So I really just tried to put together a few different, industries that we see come through our plant often. And at the top of that list are our universities. They really care about that brand recognition and being recognized as soon as you see it, right? And so nobody cares more about this type of branding than universities. We do a lot of projects for the athletics programs, right? Season ticket packages and VIP credentials, those sorts of things. Booster gifts are really popular because these people are donating money back to the university in significant ways, right? And you want to recognize them and do something nice and appreciative of them. Some athletics programs, admissions is another department within the university that we see a lot of use case with. So they're doing, if you get accepted into the College of Nursing, right, that's a big deal and one that deserves to be celebrated. And so admissions are using our boxes often, and then alumni associations as well, in a similar way to athletics, where you're getting donations to your university from these alumni, engaging with them in creative ways to keep them up to date on what's going on at the university, but also excited to receive something. So a lot of use cases within that university setting for sure.
yeah, and we see new hire kits, new client kits, campaigns, event specific type things on the corporate side,
Sure.
which looks to be Christmas for sure, just like
Yes,
this.
the holiday season is by far our busiest time of year. So don't hold your holiday orders until November. Try to get those in September, October, and we'll be good on timing. But the holiday season is again the busiest time of year. I worked at a car dealership when I was in college, actually for a few years, and people would bring in around the holidays, they bring in donuts or cookies or brownies, and unless you saw the person that brought it in, all you knew was, hey, there's free cookies in the break room, right? And you were getting no recognition for this nice gesture that you were trying to make, right? And so doing creative gifting in our packaging is something that a lot of folks are doing. Landon, you alluded a little bit to these welcome kits, right? This would probably be, I probably should have started with this one because this is by far the biggest use case of our product. There's a lot of thought on external, meaning, you're trying to sell to customers and whatnot, but in internal use within your own company, right? To do things where we all understand how expensive it is to hire somebody. And so trying to build loyalty with these new hires from day one and making them feel like, wow, this place is special and they really care and want me here. They're excited that I'm here and I have this cool merch. These welcome kits are really popular for trying to maintain new hires. And then even beyond new hire kits for an HR professional, let's make it normal to celebrate life stage events with your employees, right? So if you had a baby or you got married, sending them something special in a really nice branded kit like this is a really cool way to tell your employees, hey, I know what's going on outside of your work life, and we want to celebrate those milestones with you as well. Beyond that, HR is also using them for like work anniversaries, right? So you've been with the company 1, 5, 10, 15 years. Those milestones deserve to be celebrated as well.
Well, the other thing I would say is that these things have a lot of impact on the employee, but then they also almost immediately these days become social media posts, which has an insane amount of value for the company just in terms of that person's network, which I'm certain that there will be many countless examples of somebody getting hired in and interest being created from some other employee. So that's hard to track and hard to prove, but I'm sure that it's there.
Yeah, no, there's a lot to be said for that for sure, Landon. And then lastly, another industry I'll mention really quickly, real estate companies. We're starting to see more and more of those types of projects come through our plant, closing gift boxes, right? Where, you just closed on your first home or a home in general, right? It's a big deal. And so realtors are often doing, closing gift boxes or closing document boxes is something that we've seen more and more of, right? a few other industries I'll mention. We do a lot of work for churches, for healthcare, for law firms. Those are just a few, but a lot of different use cases for sure.
Talk a little bit about, as we kind of start to land the plane here. Everybody here and everybody who watch this in the future will have the opportunity for this free 12 promotion. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so essentially the way the free 12 promo works is you can choose any one of our stock sizes, design the boxes however you want, right? And then we'll send you a dozen for just the cost of shipping. So it's a good way to give us a try, right? Get a feel for our process, see the product in person, right? With fairly minimal investment or risk on your part, right? But usually once people have our packaging and can feel the impact, they right. And so the free 12 promo is a really good way to start if you're on the fence or want to get a feel for that.
Now, one of the things that I know is always challenging, especially like when you figure that we're in kind of the promotional product space, clothing and items, a lot of times design in that regard is not a heavy lift because it's a lot of times a logo, it's some information. A box is a design. Now, you can certainly flood code it, place logos in places and make it pretty simple. So the great thing about these boxes is that they allow full color print. You can do whatever you want with the design, but one of the challenging parts of the boxes is you can do whatever you want with the design. So I say that to say, if you have design capabilities in house, obviously you can leverage those to get something put together. Or you can also work with our team. We have in-house design capabilities that we can offer and help you with to take advantage of the free 12 promo. I think it is really impactful to get them in your hands. We can start out with some samples, like just some generic samples, which they make available to us if you just kind of want to get a feel for the product itself. But it's going to have a lot more impact if we do your box in some way. And even if we just do a very simple, clean design that has a very generic application that you could have on hand and use.
Correct. Yeah. If you just print the outside, it's cheaper than doing full color inside and out. That's correct. There is an option for kind of in the middle, right? Where you don't want a plain box, you don't want full coverage. And there is kind of that middle option to do what we call logo box, which essentially means there's not an entire flood coat.
Great question. I didn't know that I didn't know that you guys had that option. So again, see, here it is. I'm learning something alongside the customers learning something. And also I would say though, so is it a big price increase to print both sides or pretty nominal? I haven't really looked into that in a while.
It's approximately 40% more to do inside and out. It's not a double the cost type of thing, right? Because the material is the material, right? So you're paying for the box up front, and then it's about 40% more to print the inside versus just the outside.
Very good. Jake, thank you again for your time, especially the fact that you're doing it while you're on vacation. Thanks everybody for your time. Appreciate it. And we'll see you next time.